Okay, I guess I have to tackle this reflection. It's the scariest part, but it's a matter of just following details and looking at details and seeing how they work and making sure that you do them pretty similar. Um, we're not going to have get every single detail in here, but where there's something that is repeated, I did have to pick a reflection on um, a vase with a compound curve so that it throws the reflection from here up into there, down into here, down into here. So we get these little repeats of things in here that we need to see and find and put in. I started putting in some of the darker spaces just to get a feeling for where those were. We'll need to be doing more of that. And so it's just a matter of sort of picking my way through this. We may have some periods where I'll just speed it up because this is going to take me a little while to do all of this. I am going to be doing most of it with a little smaller brush, but let me start with a slightly larger one. I'm going to go ahead and put in this sort of yellow tone of the reflection of the room. So I'm going to start with that quinacridone gold. And I'm going to add just a little bit of burnt sienna to it to brown it down just a little. I think this is going to be pretty good. It's a very similar color to what we're using down in here, and it's a matter of whether we want to repeat that same color up in there. It does work. I mean, the one advantage of sort of staying with these yellowy tones is that they're going to be really pretty set off against that blue. So let me just go ahead and dive in and do this. And okay, so there's a space right there. There's some darks that are going to go in on top of this, so I can just paint them in underneath of some of those darks. That reflection of the person. And it's interesting, this reflection in the room, let's see, and that was, yeah, okay, I think that's all the way over to there. Just going to make it all the way over to there, whether it is or not. And then the tabletop, there's some pictures that are in here. I'm going to pick them out in just a second. And I'm going to just put a little bit of this goldy color right in on top of that blue. Now let me rinse my brush, get that rag up here where I can really see it and use it. Lift just a little off this one side of this because I'm seeing a lighter space. Easier to do it now. Thinner up here at the top, coming right next to that curtain. It's going to find a space down in here that's dark, and I'm going to just put it in underneath of that whole dark space. There's a little bit of dark on the top of that face area, so just put this in thin. Now over here, maybe those pictures, I want to just leave them out. That's my table there. Okay, so this can come down. Just going to follow this curve. There's some more pictures here. We'll leave those out. And there's another set back there, but I'm going to paint over them. And we actually have a shift in the light and dark in the back there, but I might have to wait and let this dry because I need a hard edge on one side of it, and I won't get it if I do it now while it's wet. Now in front of here, we have the fabric and a tabletop, which also has just a hint of yellow to it. Fabric coming up to the edge of that bottle, and we want that bottle to stay nice and blue, so let's not paint over it. But the label area can get some of this yellow underneath of it. And there's a little pink that's getting into here, but I think that's going to be okay. There's going to be some light and dark spaces in this fabric that we may want to sort of maintain. And that's going to come right on down into here. I did have to pick a hard one, didn't I? How come you guys always let me pick hard ones? The other side of the bottle. Made this a little bit more brownish. Still want to keep that pretty light. Okay. And then we have a darker space that is the bottle working its way down through here. Really have to pay attention to how there's a stops and starts in spaces. I need to stop for just a minute. What brush was I using? Oh, that was my big brush. Okay. Am I ready to move out of using the big brush? It's a little bit browner feeling here. Let's get some of that. It comes through there. There's a tabletop dark. Okay. And I made that dark there. I can just paint right over that little piece of dark that I put in. But as I get up to this rim, we need to keep that rim nice and crispy white at the edge. Okay. Hasn't dried enough. Okay. Now, let's do a little bit toward those outer edges. I've changed my color here, so things are going to be a little bit different color than what I'm seeing in the what I'm seeing in my piece. Now this is going to go darker than the background, so I need to go even a little bit darker than that with it. It's going to move into this brownish tone that I have in the back. So it needs to be a similar color to what my back is. And the question becomes, Where is it darker? Where is it lighter? Because I didn't make as big of a contrast as what I had in the photograph, now I've got to deal with how is this really going to work. And the same color comes up and under the rim on top of this blue that I put down around that little piece and down into here. Let's soften the edge of it, and then let's see what we can do about getting, you know, that's all going to be a little bit darker than my brightest white, so I need to put just a little tone in underneath of here. So let's just get a very thin layer of this slightly brown, because that's what the lace is back there that I put in. Bring it up just to the edge of this fabric that I had marked there. So I'm seeing what I can do about making this look like lace. Let's see, this has to come down straight, and then there's a turn in right there. So I'm got a purpley brown on my brush that trying to sort of duplicate that color of the, and then that goes up and under there. Let's Trying to think about what angle these go as I do them. They work underneath it here, come down sort of straight, and then turn and go out and around. Okay, we getting that looking like lace? I think so. This piece had to come back dark in here further. It changes its color to here. Red brown, but we need to dull it down a little bit. Let me add a little bit of this blue to it. Maybe throw a little of the green in there. Yeah, that looks a little better. Oh, and before I do that bookcase, because that's what that is a bookcase, I need to do a little bit darker version of what would be the roof in here. And I've got to put a little bit of blue into it, not quite that much. I'm using quinacridone gold here. It just seemed like the right thing to do. And a little brown. Okay, a little this brown. Okay, I think that's going to be about right. Coming in right across this person's head. And up to those corners. And I'm going to get a little more gold mixed with just a hair of red on my brush to bring this corner in and bring it up next to that so that I can bleed into a slightly different shade. And this goes down into there. Okay. Those pictures on the wall. Remember those pictures on the wall? Now I got to paint around them. So that we're not, you know, seeing every single detail back there, but we're getting a sense that there's a reflection of a room. It's sort of interesting to see, you know, how these distorted bits work. Just letting these colors sort of come together, and rather than trying to do any real detail in there. The same color, can wrap it on that bottle and make sure that comes as a nice little curve there. Yeah. And a little more there. The same color. Now, it's an angle like this. Hope I'm getting these in the right place. There's a, yeah. That'll help bring that sort of around too. And I'm going to have a little more blue. I'm going to need to put some blue in here where I didn't have it before. And then the same sort of brownish tone. Let's see, make sure I'm in the right place here. Let me do another area. I've got to sort of figure out where everything is in there. But now over on this side, we are going to be doing this darker section under the, and then this comes and it's got a line that runs all the way back in there. There's a lightness right on the very edge of this. I think I need to stop for a minute and look at this from a distance. My bottle needs a dark shoulder over here. And don't make this light splice too dark. Let me lift some of that out again. And then we can do some of the same up in here. A little more intensely ultramarine blue, a little darker on that back side. Light space left behind. And then same thing up here, a little more intense on this one side. And I said I needed blue right here. And running in that a little bit. Okay, I'm going to stop for a few minutes and look at this and then see about continuing. I took a little break from this, let it dry. This is coming together pretty well. I'm pretty happy with the light and bright feeling there, and it is feeling like reflection. Now I need to build, I've built the main part of the reflection, but now I need to do these side parts and try not to lose the freshness that I have here. So that's going to be a little bit tricky, isn't it? Because that's so easy to lose. The darkness in through here could be a little more consistent through there. It'll tie it all together so that the figure doesn't stand out quite so much by itself, because we want it to sort of disappear into here. So let's just see what I can do about adding some more dark across. And everything's got to sort of have these little curves to it. And some parts of this can come right in and be as dark as that figure. Just sort of broken and uneven, then it has to come hard against that, where that curtain is. And yeah, there's even a little tied together piece there. Okay, and we can let that be a little bit darker right here, but not quite that dark. And let's add a little more blue to that to make it a little more of a gray brown. And once again, a little darker back in here so that it just brings this dark all the way across this area, because it's going to do the same thing when I repeat it up above. And let's see, that dark can come out a little further. Okay. And, oh, I know another thing I wanted was that all of this needs to get blued down just a little bit and not be quite so bright. And so no lines are straight, they're all curved, just a wee touch. There's some light coming across and just some shapes, and just sort of pay attention to big lines, big spaces. Don't worry about little spaces. Bring that right onto that dark. And then this little space right there is going to be repeated up in here. It then turns and comes down into there. Okay. And we can play that game just a wee touch. join some of these other spaces that I'd started to put in there. So we get that continued feeling of things wrapping down in there. And there's a line that comes across. I think it's probably from the outside window. I can come through here a little further. This is all a little bit darker back in here. Which is then going to take that closer to that shade of the purple that was there. This is where you start getting some sort of darker reflection spaces. And I really need to pay attention to where they are. So that I don't lose what the reflection should be. It's like which piece is which down here. I had started to do it earlier and then it was like this total confusion on where everything was. So and then there's a dark space right here. Maybe come in on that gray just a little bit more. It's that dark space there, okay. This one can be a little fatter and get a little more dark into it. And it stops right at the edge of what would be that curtain. There's a few little curtain marks down in here. be right up to that space, gold, and then this space is white, that space is white. Want the feeling of those curtains coming in there, and then these spaces, and let's pull that in through. And I just have to be careful about overdoing this, but I need to get the darks in here in the right places so that, and then it's quite dark right here all the way across. This section down here needs more dark and a little less right there. And then down in here, we've just barely any white. And then our gold needs to come back through here again, all the way across. Okay. And then I need to get a little dark space right underneath of the, and you know, I'm gonna go for an even smaller brush for that. The right underneath of the vase is, I need a black line. Just those ends, and what do the ends do? This goes darker out here, wraps through here, it comes out and it's darker right there. Darker as it wraps through, dark as it comes into here, and then this whole little piece across here is a little bit darker. And now what happens here? These are so important because these are the little curves that are telling us what's going on with the shape of the vase. And I'm close to saying I better stop on this before I start making it not look right. Where is it soft? Where is it hard? This is looking like a little bit of a bump. Well, maybe it's just the paper was lifted up. Okay, I'm not going to worry about that so much. But there is a dark spot right up here. Yeah, it's off to one side. It's a dark spot in the lip right up there. This line here needs to be a little bit darker. And this line, I need to be just maybe a little bit of brown gray all the way across on this so that that stands out a bit more. And we'll just take it right over everything I painted already, grade it across. This needs to go a little darker right here and a little bit darker right there. And then I think we're about at the point where I need to just stop and really look at this, see if there was anything else I was missing. This feels like it's got to have a little grayness that works through there. Okay. What else? Just some places that are white that shouldn't be. Let's not let those be white. There are places that need to stay white. And maybe grade this just a little bit from this dark line. Just softening that a little bit by rubbing into that line and pulling it up just a hair. Okay, time to stop, time to step away. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention to you is that this area, I did a little extra work on there. We were not really liking that it was still feeling sort of purple. So I went in and I put a thin layer of cobalt blue on it, let it dry, and then came back in and put another layer of the quinacridone gold on there. I'm liking it better. This is so close to being right and done. So I'm going to stop here, look at it. If I do anything, I'll take a picture of it to show you, but I don't think you really want to watch me. And I'm seeing a little spot here that is going to help pull the eye through underneath of there. Yeah. And we'll soften that edge just a wee touch, 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 touch. This could be a little darker. Okay. Stop there, Margaret. Hopefully this is done. Oh, there's always one more little thing I see. This line needs to come through here. So let me just see if I can control that up into there to make that line work its way through there. Okay.